What kind of crazy move makes a team completely ignore its own reality just to jump into a senseless trade? Well, it happened. Ethan Carter here, and today, what's buzzing in the Seahawks world is going to make a lot of fans pull their hair out. They talked about trading for a QB, who'd be a backup to a QB who isn't even here anymore. Meanwhile, a veteran offensive lineman might be the last hope to protect Darnold. And there's more. A big name on defense heading to the PUP list. And a potential secondary reinforcement who brings both risk and experience. But what does all of this say about Seattle's true plan for 2025? Are we still improvising blindly? Or is this the start of something bigger? Let's dive in. All right, Seahawks fan. Before we get into the nitty-gritty details of our team's latest news this Wednesday, a quick favor from me to you. If you're a regular viewer of the Seahawks Insider Report and you dig our analysis, please hit that subscribe button. It's crucial for the channel and for our community of Seahawks fans to keep growing. Thanks so much for your support. Unbelievable surprise or just pure disconnect from reality, because what came out this week sounds more like an April Fool's joke than serious NFL analysis. And believe it, they mentioned Geno Smith's name as if he were still our starting QB. Yes, in July 2025, a trade proposal put the Seattle Seahawks as a possible destination for Titans quarterback Will Levis in an attempt to reinforce depth behind Geno. There's just one problem. Geno isn't here anymore. He went to the Raiders months ago. And what's more, Sam Darnold has already been officially named the starter. Drew Lock is the immediate backup, and the promising Jalen Milroe is the future project. So where did this craziness come from? It seems like someone literally missed the memo. And then we get to what really matters. Even correcting this factual error, what would make sense about bringing in Will Levis now? The answer is clear. Absolutely nothing. Levis couldn't even establish himself when the Titans were in shambles, and even with their offensive line collapsing, he didn't show the spark you expect from a high second-round pick. Tennessee, by the way, has already turned the page and bet on Cam Ward as their starter. It makes sense for them to try and trade Levis. But for Seattle, not even as a third stringer. Milroe has a higher ceiling, superior mobility, and fits better into McDonald's system, which needs a real rushing threat if he wants to open up the playbook in 2025. Plus, Drew Lock has already shown more control, more chemistry with the roster, and he knows the environment. What would Levis come here for? To create useless controversy? To spend draft capital on yet another unlikely rescue project? The moment demands a different mindset. The real urgency is to strengthen the pass rush, because with Nosu in doubt, and we'll talk about that shortly, the defensive scenario could change in an instant. Want to invest heavily in a trade? Bring in a real impact player, a name like Trey Hendrickson, a TJ Watt in a bold, accelerated rebuilding move. But a backup quarterback? At this point, that's just wasted talk. And the most concerning part, this kind of speculation shows how some people in the national media still haven't understood that the Seahawks have turned the page. We're no longer in the era of eternal improvisation, or at least we shouldn't be. And if we still are, then the hole is much, much deeper. But has the front office realized where they need to attack first? Because if quarterback protection doesn't improve, neither Darnold nor anyone else will stay healthy until November. Quarterback protection has become Russian roulette in Seattle. And if there's one position screaming for immediate reinforcement, it's the interior offensive line. Mike McDonald knows it. John Schneider knows it too. And that's why Dalton Risner's name is back on the radar with full force. And here there's no meaningless speculation. It's a surgical, technical move with logical behind-the-scenes reasoning. Risner is a free agent. He's 29, has 81 career starts, and played for Minnesota where, even in a turbulent environment, he allowed only 21 pressures on 370 snaps. Numbers that scream stability, especially when compared to what Seattle had in the middle of the line in 2024. And the key point, he's a versatile veteran who can play both left and right guard, which provides cover for a line marked by instability and injuries. Just look at Abraham Lucas, who's still seeking consistency after a concerning injury history. The coaching staff has been banking on young names like Zabel and Bradford, but without someone like Risner, their learning curve could turn into a free fall. Moreover, with Darnold taking over the offense, giving him a solid line is more than a priority. It's a matter of survival. The pocket can't be a trap. It needs to be a fortress. And Risner, for a one-year deal around $4 million, offers that. He comes in, plays, teaches, and leaves if needed. And the front office's philosophy, which seeks short-term deals with immediate impact, fits this type of business like a glove. Risner isn't coming to be a star. He's coming to be a foundation. And a foundation is what's missing. Remember when Russell Wilson was constantly running for his life? We can't repeat that cycle with Darnold or with Milroe if he has to step in. Does the team want to compete with the 49ers and Rams on equal footing? Then it starts in the trenches. And if the name of the game is consistency, Risner delivers more than promise. He delivers execution. But what's truly striking is the timing. The market is heating up, the Vikings and Broncos have also shown interest, and the bargaining window is closing. If Seattle doesn't act soon, they could see another key name slip away. And then, around week 6, when the pressure mounts and the sacks pile up, it'll be too late to regret it. Now, will the front office maintain this focus on the offensive line, or are their eyes set on another part of the roster that also desperately needs maturity and depth? Because the next move might come precisely from the sector that separates mediocre seasons from teams that truly contend for something in January. You want to know the difference between a promising team and a ready team? The answer is in the secondary, more precisely in the experience of those leading the young guys. And that's why the Seahawks' interest in Asante Samuel Jr. isn't just sensible, it's necessary. At 25, the former Charger is still unsigned after a nearly null 2024 season, limited to just 4 games due to neck surgery. But hold on, what looks like a risk could be precisely the opportunity we needed. The most recent medical evaluations have shown progress. Nothing guaranteed yet, it's true, but enough to open conversations. And this is where Mike McDonald's plan comes in, reinforcing the culture of on-field teaching, that direct in-game learning when it matters most. Samuel Jr. is exactly that profile. Versatile, experienced, technical. Someone who can play both in the slot and on the outside, covering tactical holes and providing security to the younger players. And let's be honest, Witherspoon and Woolen are real talents, but they still need someone alongside them who has bled on the field, who knows the shortcuts of the league. A guy who teaches with action, not just pretty words in the locker room. Remember that Samuel Jr., even in a short time, accumulated 35 passes defended and 6 interceptions in 3 years. That's production. That's instinct. And what's more, the cost should be low. No one is going to pay big money for a player with medical doubts and a year off, which means Schneider can make another one of those golden contracts, short-term, high-impact, and with immense upside if everything goes right. It's the kind of gamble ambitious teams make. And here, the veteran fan knows, we've seen defenses shine with pieces like this before. Who doesn't remember the arrival of Browner or even Averill himself? Guys who arrived doubted and became Legion of Boom legends. The difference now is that the roster is younger, rawer, and needs this transition to be accompanied by someone who has seen it all. If Samuel Jr. is 100%, he becomes glue in the secondary. And if he's not, it costs little to try. But Seattle needs to act fast. Other teams are also monitoring him, and the closer to preseason, the greater the risk of losing him due to inertia. So the question is direct. Will John Schneider take this step before someone else does? Because time is running out, and while we're talking about strengthening the defense, the next bombshell that hits Seattle could compromise our entire pass rush rotation. When the most feared name in your pass rush starts training camp on the PUP list, the red alert goes off. Uchenna Nosu, our defensive line watchdog, isn't ready, and that changes everything. Since signing that 3-year, $45 million contract back in 2023, Nosu has played just 12 games. 12. And now, after an off-season with knee surgery, which according to Schneider was just a minor adjustment, the guy is out right at the start. Can he return during camp? Maybe. But the truth is, no one knows when. And that, for a team that wants to make it to January, isn't a minor detail. It's a threat. Nosu was QB's terror in 2022. 66 tackles, 12 for loss, almost 10 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, dominant. But since then, just absence. And the cruelest part, his contract was restructured in March to alleviate the cap, turning into a 2-year, nearly $20 million deal. In other words, the team is still betting on him, but they're betting without a guarantee. Because a knee injury for a pass rusher is like a ticking time bomb. He could come back strong, or he might never be the same. We've seen this movie before, and it doesn't end well. Now calm down. It's not the end of the world. The front office acted well by bringing in DeMarcus Lawrence, who arrives to lead. Boy Mafe is growing, and Derek Hall could explode this year. The trio is good, but Nosu elevated that group from good to elite. He was the one who made chaos happen when the pocket collapsed. Without him, we lose that unpredictable factor, the spark. And the problem goes beyond technique. It's leadership, his weight in the locker room, the guy who beats his chest and says, "Come with me." And look, with a young team with ambition and hunger, that weighs heavily. The worst case scenario, Nosu takes longer than expected and misses part of the regular season. If that happens, the front office will have to act. And then the debate comes in, is it time to go after another impact edge? Perhaps someone like Zadarius Smith still on the market, or even cook up a last-minute trade for a strong name like they did with Clowney back in the day, because a good defense without quarterback pressure becomes a vulnerable defense. And that, my friend, the NFC West doesn't forgive. Rams, Niners, even the Cardinals with a new system, they'll exploit it, and then everything crumbles. But if Nosu comes back 100%, this group becomes a wall. A gigantic if, yes. But for now, that's all we have. And with so many ifs in the air, the question remains, is Seattle's plan really ready for the season, or are we still rolling the dice and hoping for the best? The truth is, the 2025 Seahawks look like a team teetering between calculated risk and stubborn hope. An absurd trade that reveals how underestimated we still are, an offensive line deficiency screaming for action, a surgical bet in the secondary, and a defensive pillar with an uncertain future. All of this reveals a roster full of potential, but still under construction. And this is when the veteran fan asks, can we trust this machine? Or are we still far from what the Legion of Boom once was? If you believe in Seattle's resurgence, tell us in the comments, is this the year to dream or not?